Hello, everybody, and welcome to Chamber Chat. My name is Jennifer Manning. I am the new Executive Director of the Melrose Chamber of Commerce. I'm continuing Lauren Grimmick's vision of Chamber Chat, but as a podcast. Thanks for joining us and listening tonight. My first guest is Eric Zerlanka from Waggery on Main. Hey, Eric.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yeah, so good to see you. Thanks for coming over. Eric owns Waggery on Main, located at 416 Main Street, which is the former Follow Your Art studio. Correct?
That's right.
Kind of across the street from the old Papagino's building. I think Hugo's is also one of your neighbors.
We share a wall with Hugo's, yes.
Yes. So that's where they're located. And I had the pleasure of having a VIP tour with you a couple of days ago, and I stopped by the store. But for folks that aren't familiar with Waggery on Main, why don't you tell us a little bit about your store?
Yeah, absolutely. So Waggery on Main is a retail store with specialty items for cats and dogs. And in addition to that, we have grooming services that we offer on site, and we also offer walking to the Melrose and surrounding areas.
So it's like a 3-tier business you were saying before.
That's right.
And what I thought was so cool about it too is you were telling me about the grooming piece of it, because a lot of dogs get skittish and they're not necessarily loving it being in there. So you have kind of a way to socialize them a little bit or have them feel a little bit more comfortable.
We do. So when I was laying out the space and creating the business in my mind, I was taking into consideration my own dog, Charlie, who is a rescue, and he has honestly, he has PTSD from past experiences that I know nothing about what he went through. But he's very nervous around other dogs, and his experience when he walks into a place initially is to be nervous. Mm-hmm. So I wanted dogs to feel comfortable. So Waggery on Main as a whole, we welcome all animals into the store. But when they come for grooming or any kind of services, we have a VIP meet and greet area that we created in the center of the store. The idea is that the dog can come in, get off leash with the pet parents in that space and the groomer or the walker, and we do meet and greets.
That's great.
So the dog can actually hang around. You know, we encourage people too who are considering us for grooming or walking to come by the store and stop by casually every so often. It does, just to give the dog a level of comfort in going into the store. Maybe they have a treat or two, they look around, they sniff, and then they leave. And then when they actually come back for a service of some sort, it's not such a traumatic experience for them.
That's amazing. And I think a lot of places we had talked about, maybe the larger chain stores don't do that. So you don't necessarily see that level of service. So I think that's great that you provide that. And especially here in downtown, we don't have anything like that, any kind of a store that will provide those services. So that's great. Now, you opened in October of 2020?
We did, yeah.
Which is in the dead middle of a worldwide pandemic.
That's right. That's right.
A lot of people would have been uncomfortable doing that, or it's such a huge risk. But you decided to go for it. So why don't you talk a little bit about how that came to be?
Absolutely. So I found myself, like many a year ago, sitting at home without much work for the next year and a half or so. And wasn't quite sure what I was going to do with that. But I also know I'm not one to just sit around and wait for things to happen. And I had to pull myself together and kind of get the energy to do something new. Sure. And everybody was talking about those words, pivoting and all these different things. And the concept of Waggery on Main was always something that I had in the back of my mind. Mm-hmm. I have a business that I've had for 10 years. It's event production. And I always knew that someday that would stop and I would do something different. And Waggery on Main was always sort of lingering in the background. And I was watching social media. I was watching all the coverage from the pandemic and what people were doing, and pets were at the top of the list. People were getting pets.
A lot of adoptions, right?
Adoptions, sure. And all of a sudden there were rescues that were empty, and I just thought, wow, at some point life will go back to normal, some sense of normalcy, and these dogs are going to need to be cared for. And where are people going to shop and do things? And I just figured there was never a perfect time. And though this seemed like the scariest time to do it, I thought if I could set it up to be successful during the pandemic, then we will be perfectly positioned to give the best service and the best resources to people when it's over.
Absolutely. You've been doing really well. It's been a success for you so far, right?
It has, yeah.
You have a great online presence as well. Your website is fantastic. It's waggeryonmain.com.
That's right.
So what can you tell me a little bit about how COVID affected your business? I mean, I'm sure it wasn't, maybe did it take off the way that you had wanted it to? Were you pleasantly surprised?
We were pleasantly surprised. We were able, it's one of those things where you're building a business and you're opening it with COVID already in mind, right? We didn't have to shift how we did business because we weren't existing yet. So, the idea of safety within the workplace and the safety of the employees and everybody was just something that was automatic, and it was just part of setting up the initial standard operating procedures, if you will. Sure. We did a lot of online research, I guess is the best word for it, prior to opening Waggery, and we were on the Facebook pages for Melrose and Saugus, Stoneham, Wakefield. And we actually published some stuff on the websites about asking people for feedback on the business. And we said, we want to be your local resource. Can you provide us with this information, and would you be willing to fill out this survey?
Wow.
And
you did a lot of homework. That's great.
We did.
Yes.
And then the first day we had over 80 responses to the survey.
Okay.
And really it was just very general stuff. But, do you currently shop in Melrose for pet supplies? If so, where do you go? Or surrounding area? We pulled a lot of information. So we've been really well supported, I feel, from the get-go, from the community. So the opening weekend, we did a soft opening October 15th to the 19th. And that's what we invited everyone who did the survey during that time specifically.
That's so cool.
Yep. And then we offered them gift cards, which they did not know about in advance of doing the survey. It was something we did as a thank you after.
Right.
And then the the retail business just continued to roll. The grooming, we were booking, 2 weeks out in advance. And then it took time for walking to pick up.
Sure.
But now, we're active with walkers coming in and out of the store every day,
Now with grooming, were people a little bit apprehensive about that at first, bringing their dog in during COVID? Or because it seems like now you're just thriving. You guys are doing great.
They were not. And I think it's because we, to your point, we positioned it in a way that we do one dog at a time. There's one dog back there. We don't use crates. We are not holding dogs for several hours at a time.
That's important.
When your dog is actually in the store or in the grooming, we like to say the spa area in the back, they are strictly there to be taken care of.
Right.
They're not just waiting around. And so one dog comes in and then when that dog leaves, the next one comes in, and we intentionally structured it that way.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Yep. A lot of people, I think that, people love their dogs. They're like, dog people are everywhere, and
they do.
It makes them feel more comfortable to have that special care. So I'm sure they appreciate that. When I was in the store, you showed me a section about your charitable. You have a section of candles, right?
Yes.
That you give back, and then they don't smell like dogs. They smell like good things.
They do
they're
not.
But it was about canine giving back when the military dogs. Was that? Could you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. To sort of explain how this came about, when I was looking for the items that I was going to sell in the store, I didn't have the same resources that a typical retailer would have. I couldn't go to big pet shows and showcases where I could see products. So it was really something that I had to do a lot of research online on my own. I had to order samples and decide if it was the quality of stuff that I wanted to carry. I didn't want to carry stuff that you could get just anywhere because it makes no sense.
Right. Why do it?
And what I ended up finding was I would find quality products, and then they would add to the list if there was a charitable component. And Fox and Hound is one of those brands that we carry. So they do a number of different things. They do candles for the home. And to your point, yes, they're actually named after different canine dogs that either work in the military or are canine officers. And every one of those dogs has Instagram pages and are followed by thousands of people. But the candles are named after them, and then the proceeds, a good portion of the proceeds, actually go to support that dog.
I love that. That's great that you do that, and that's that must be something you can feel good about too, to have a piece of your business giving back.
Yeah, there's a few other products like that too. We carry Raws, and they do 100% of proceeds go back.
Oh, okay.
So there's a lot of different products that we carry, and we look for that now. The give back component.
I think it's great. So one of the things I noticed, and we had talked about this, you have something, it looks like wine or beer for cats and dogs.
Yeah.
It was hilarious. It's I forget what it's called. I'm sorry what the name of the product is, but it has, like, I have a cat.
And beer,
it looks like, and it has wine, and it said it has catnip in it and salmon oil, and then something, so that's also unique too, but I just thought that was a lot of fun for that. And you also had some really cute, I don't want to say Easter baskets, but sort of like gift baskets put together that are already prepackaged that people could come by and pick up for your pet or for a friend or family member. I thought that was great. And you also had gift certificates you had mentioned. They're available online and in the store. Yep. I also wanted to ask you about, you have a side business too that you had, it's called Zerlanka Productions.
That's right.
And you've had that for quite a bit. That was something that was
Yes.
really your career kind of prior to this, obviously, and still going strong.
It is, yeah. Now, so we're in our 10th year, Sri Lanka Productions, and yeah, we produce large-scale corporate meetings and special events all over the country and internationally. So that has been my business for the last 10 years, and of course, with COVID, that's why that industry was just basically hit pause, right? So for the past year and a half, and but you know what? I hope that I made the best of the time that was given to me, and like I said, I couldn't just sit back and wallow in that. I needed to focus on Waggery and do something new. And now Sri Lanka Productions is coming back. And thankfully, that was always the plan. So the teams are in place on both sides to support me and keep both going strong. Yeah.
No, that's great. And you are local. You had told me that you had lived in Melrose at one point, but you do know the town. You know the area pretty well. And and you said that where you're located for the Sri Lanka Productions is sort of down by Pepperberry.
We're right between. Yeah, we're right next to Pepperberry. We share a wall with them, and so it's 543 Main Street. But it's a space that was just recently renovated. There was somebody else in there until recently. Yeah,
so you're a real downtown member, a downtown business.
It's just happened. It just kind of happened.
Good for you. Yes, absolutely. Is there anything else you want to share with our listeners about Waggery on Main? I know we've got some. I'm going to plug your social media and how to get in touch with you.
Yeah, no, just that we would love to have people stop in. I always tell people, if you're walking by with your dog and you want to come in, just stop in and say hello. Right. You don't always have to buy something. If we have something that you want, we totally would love to have your business. But also, we have families that just walk by with the kids, and the kids love to come in every day, and they just visit, and then they continue on with their morning walk, and we love that.
It was great because when I went by on Saturday, just a couple of days ago, I on a weekend, of course, it was a beautiful weekend day, and you had the door open, and you had the water, the dishes outside for the dogs, and it's just very welcoming. It was such a great environment.
Oh, I'm glad
Your
to hear that.
staff was wonderful.
Yeah.
I had a nice little chat in there. But yeah, anything you would want. You have food, you have treats. I saw a kitty condo, which was cool. Any kind of, I saw winter coats. So you have a winter sale going on now? I saw that on your website.
We do. Yeah, we're transitioning now into spring, obviously. So we're bringing in a lot of stuff for like active dogs. So stuff that you would need in the car or on a hike or things like that. Running with dogs and all of that. So the winter stuff is now all on sale, 25% off. And then we'll bring it back out next winter when it's time.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And then speaking of winter, I know on the holidays you had Santa doing
we
photos
did.
with pets, and it was a huge success.
It was a great success. We look forwe're doing that again this year.
That's so much fun. And again, it's unique because I don't think anybody else downtown was doing something like that.
Yeah, right? when we're designing the space, and when I was thinking about how I wanted it to feel, I just wanted it to be, people are happy with their dogs, right? And it's like having kids, right? So when the dog comes in and we react to the dog and get all excited to see the dog, the pet owners or pet parents are really, it just kind of fills their heart, I think. And it makes them happy to be there, and that's what we want.
And I love that you say your pet parents. That's such a great way to say it. That's the truth.
Myself sometimes, but
Well, no, it's honestly, people feel like they're their children. Dogs are their children. And you said you have 2 rescue dogs yourself?
I do. I have 2.
Yeah. So that's, do they come into the shop a lot or not so much?
They do when it's not so busy.
Yes.
I think about it and like, I would love to have them with me all the time. I'd bring them to the other office. But, we want to stick to that policy of just kind of one dog at a time. And I don't want my own dogs to interfere with somebody else's experience. So
that makes sense. Yes.
Yeah, we're careful about it.
Definitely. So you are on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, I believe, too.
We don't do Twitter.
Not on Twitter. Okay.
It's interesting. We're finding even with Instagram and Facebook, a website, phone calls, there's a lot of different sources for people to get in touch with us, and it's a lot to manage.
It sure is. And you're a smaller operation.
Yeah.
But your phone number is 1-866-WAGGERY.
That's right.
If people wanted to call the shop. And then email is team@waggeryonmain.com.
Yes.
And then you could subscribe to an email list as well.
That's right.
That you can be the first to know about special events and promotions. But yeah, it was so great to chat with you, Eric.
Nice
Thank you so much for coming by and being my very first podcast guest.
Yes.
I think it went pretty well.
I think it went very well.
That was great. Thanks so much.
Thanks
for being a chamber member too. We really appreciate your support there. That was a great first episode of Chamber Chat. Thanks again to Eric Zerlanka from Waggery on Main. I wanted to also mention that his online store is very extensive, and you can purchase packages to bundle together his services of grooming, dog walking, and also his retail piece. So check that out at waggeryonmain.com. If you would like to become a member of the Chamber of Commerce, please visit melrosechamber.org. or email us at info@melrosechamber.org. And this is Jennifer Manning from the Melrose Chamber of Commerce. Thanks for listening.